Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, you know her as 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber. And Omar Zini will be joining us momentarily in a few minutes. But right now, we have a very special guest. We're very excited about this. Honestly, Susk, we've obviously talked about this on the show quite a bit, is that when we see young goalkeepers making a difference both on the field and off the field, these are absolutely conversations that we want to have on the show. And a big fan of the podcast herself, an insider herself, we got Aubrey McLin joining us. What's up, Obs?
Hi, thank you for having me here.
We're excited about this, and obviously your mom Julie Hunter is joining us as well too. In the background, she's like, just don't talk.
I want to start off really quick with what's the button?
It's a button that says "Ask me about dysautonomia."
No, say that again.
Yeah, say that a little slower because I'm like,
a little slower.
How do you say it?
What is it?
It's a button that's saying that you can ask me about dysautonomia.
Nice. What is it?
Dysautonomia. Okay.
So dysautonomia, it's a chronic medical condition that affects your autonomic nervous system. So everything that your body automatically does, my condition affects that.
Wow. Okay, so I think we should actually kind of jump into that, Aubrey, because
Absolutely.
I think this is kind of the original reason that like we kind of connected is like I think it was a year ago. And by the way, for a lot of people out there who are watching this right now or listening to the podcast later on, this wasn't a thing like where we searched the world, the globe, thinking like what young goalkeepers are making a difference or whatever. Aubrey, you reached out when you were pretty young kid. I mean, not that you're a grizzled veteran now, but you were pretty young when you originally reached out and you said, "Hey, this is something that I'd love to share with you guys. Is there any way you guys can help raise awareness out there?" And then obviously, Julie, we kind of connected as well about this too. So actually, this month is Is it dysautonomia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dysautonomia.
So dysautonomia awareness.
Yeah.
Month.
So it's pronounced dysautonomia.
Okay.
Dysautonomia.
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 Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. I think we're gonna make it like we're honestly by the end of the episode we'll be able to say it perfectly. I think is the way it's gonna happen. So first off, like before we kind of get into today's topic, guys, and today's topic is gonna be kind of working with like special populations and all that sort of a thing. Aubrey, kind of why don't you tell us a little bit about how you kind of got involved in advocacy, obviously, with a specific condition and everything like that. You were aware of kind of the differences that some goalkeepers might have, different circumstances and stuff, and kind of where you are today.
So I started my advocacy mission when I was in second grade, so about 7 years old.
It was 6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7. And I started by doing a presentation in front of my second grade class, explaining to them like what my medical condition was because they just didn't know about it. Not even like most doctors even know about it. So I really wanted to change that and help other people get earlier diagnoses.
I mean, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Saskia, we always talk about the fact that, this next generation, out there is not just focused on themselves. I think a lot of times people kind of get this negative connotation with the TikTok and everything. Not that there's anything wrong with TikTok, but,
No.
self-serving social media world out there. But what we're seeing right here, the fact that there's young goalkeepers out there that recognize how it's not just about like, oh, let me make things good for myself, but let me make things better for other people who might not be familiar.
No, absolutely. And I think what we didn't have when we were growing up, or what I didn't have, you did probably, was social media. And I think that, with TikTok and with all those things, it's great. It's great entertainment and everything. But to send a message and to make a change and to bring awareness to something is incredible. And to do it at such a young age is even more powerful, in my opinion. And it makes adults listen. It makes young people listen. It makes young people identify. And I love it. And I'm so excited for this podcast.
So by the way, Aubrey and Julie, feel free to step in anytime. You don't need to wait for us to, ask you guys a question or anything like that. So if there's anything you want to, just interject, just feel free. But I think, one of the things, Aubrey, in regards to this is that, like, a lot of young goalkeepers out there, when they have a special circumstance or when, let's say they have some specific challenges, they quote unquote either give up or, don't think that, that this is the environment that they're going to be able to be successful in, or that they try to find something else, or, or basically complain and play the victim card. And you went the complete opposite direction. You're like, regardless of my, special circumstance right here, my goal is to be a collegiate goalkeeper. My goal is to be a professional goalkeeper. And I'm going to keep going at that regardless of what people say.
Yeah, I think there was a turning point for her, because you go either way with that. Like when you get that diagnosis, you could be like, really like, I'm going to give up. This is going to be too hard. It's going to be too challenging, or take it and spin it into something positive. And I think when you watch Kayla Montgomery, she's a MS runner, and she's won lots of different competitions and stuff, but she did a TED Talk that you watched. And when Aubrey watched that, something clicked, and she said, you know what? I want to be like her. I want to take this and turn it into something positive, amazing, and help change other people's life. And I think she watched that. How old were you when you watched that?
8, 7.
It was like 7 or 8. And she was like, okay, let's go, Mom. What can we do? And we started searching the internet, like seeing what people were doing, reached out to, you want to show them dysautonomia international?
I have a couple questions. I do want to say a shout out to Tim Howard, who suffers from Tourette's.
Yeah.
And so obviously getting to the highest level and dealing with that as well is incredible. I would like to know how it affects you on the field and as a goalkeeper. Like, what are the hurdles that you have to go over?
Especially if it's a hard game, like one of those games where it's back and forth between me and the striker. It's hard sometimes. Like my legs, sometimes they feel heavy, like you feel like you can't pick them up well. And then also nerve pain. So like it feels like a bunch of bees are stinging your legs. And honestly, I've just learned to kind of push through that pain. And it's honestly, my motivation for that is just playing the game that I love and doing what I love, like goalkeeping. And I think that's what honestly pushed me to get to where I am now.
I think she's had to rely on muscle memory too, because sometimes her legs are so heavy and she just has to like trust that her body's going to do what it needs to do in those moments. And so how much training do you do each day to like make sure your body can handle this?
I do 3 trainings a day. So I do a speed and agility training, and then I go to goalkeeper training, and then I go to my team training with my team.
Yeah, right now I don't want to hear any excuses from my UCLA girls.
No, and by the way, for a lot of people out there who are listening or watching right now, Aubrey was actually the national runner-up in the Keeper Wars tournament, which is the most fitness-heavy activity out there. I mean, you're talking about handling that type of pressure, that type of movement, those types of anaerobic activities at such a high pace with your legs feeling heavy and feeling like you're getting stung by bees. Unbelievable.
Where was the tournament, and what's your hardest thing with your condition?
So we live out in California in Sacramento, and we had to go all the way to Sarasota, Florida.
And the weather is humid, and one of the things.
Well, I'm sure the plane flight didn't help.
Yeah, I don't do very well traveling either.
Yeah.
No, so like the humidity gets to her because she actually can't sweat on her own. She's on a medication that helps her sweat, because that was the one thing that the doctor said, no, you can't play sports. And she told them, what did you tell them?
So it was like one of the first times I ever talked at like a doctor's appointment. Like they were talking to my mom, like she can't play sports anymore. And then I immediately interjected and I was like, I have to play soccer. I'm sorry, but I have to play. Like maybe I could drop softball or something, but I have to play soccer. Sorry.
I love that. I'm going to tell you a story. When I played, not even on your level, but when I played pro in Japan, I hurt my knee. And I went to doctors in Japan. They told me I'd never play again. They told me that I'd never play at a high level. I'd never play again. I needed surgery, all this stuff. And that was 3 years before the 99 World Cup. And I didn't take no for an answer. And obviously my career says that, but I'm just, it's not even close to what you deal with on a day-to-day basis, but I get it.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and speaking of that, and speaking of overcoming kind of these, you know, these adversities and everything like that, I think a lot of young goalkeepers out there need to recognize, and Aubrey, I think you do a great job of this with the awareness program that you run, is that they're not alone. They're not alone. And it's so important for a lot of young goalkeepers to hear stories like this, to realize that they're not outliers. There's people just like them. Maybe it's not this condition, maybe it's a different circumstance, but they're not alone. And you guys can create a community and create a network to help each other.
Show me your shirt.
Yeah, I made, so my mom and I made a shirt, so I just have the shirt that I have, and
I want one.
That's awesome.
I want one. I love it. Go ahead.
So you want to tell them what the Team Aubrey project is?
So the Team Aubrey project is what we made when I was
Probably 7.
7. I started the Team Aubrey project, and basically what we do is that we raise awareness and funds for Dysautonomia and Dysautonomia International, and so far we've raised $8,000 for it.
$8,000 she started raising since she was the age of 7 and 13. We're hoping to get to 10,000.
Yeah.
That is incredible. I want to pop this up right here because I think, oh no, wait, that's not a picture. Gosh darn it.
Well, we're going to keep putting it up, and we're going to keep helping raise money.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. I wanted to put this up here, right here. And, you know, maybe Aubrey, if you can put in the chat, for instance, so for people, so we can throw it up on the screen right here. If you can throw up any links or any specific areas where people can donate or anything like that, that would be wonderful throughout the show. But kind of while we're doing that, let's kind of go into today's topic, guys. And today's topic is going to be working with special populations out there, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, whether you're a parent. Obviously, there are goalkeepers out there who are dealing with different circumstances. Maybe, you know, Julie, maybe for some parents out there who are listening, who don't know what we mean by special populations, what do we mean by that?
So, I mean, we're not experts in any kind of specific condition other than dysautonomia because she lives with it. But we do know, I mean, Aubrey talks about people with diabetes, Tim Howard and Tourette's.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of even anxiety disorders. There's, you know, people struggle with different things. And so I think what's key and what Aubrey and I have been talking about is just making sure that people are open-minded, not treating them different. Aubrey doesn't want special treatment. She really does just want to be treated you know, every player on the team. She wants a chance to prove herself. But there are times where she does have to talk to a coach and ask for some reasonable accommodations, would you say?
Yeah, I would say reasonable.
So after water breaks, you know, she has to have salt throughout the game. So during halftime, she has to go to her bag instead of her coach to eat some salt. So beef sticks, nuts, because she has to keep her salt levels high to make sure her blood's not pulling into her legs. So there's just little things she does. And I think with those populations, I think the coaches just need to be a little bit more open-minded, talk to the player, talk to the family, just so no one has to give up something that they love. For Aubrey, she was determined she was not going to give soccer up.
You know, Mike, I think this is something we always talk about and, you know, I'm passionate about, is that you have to get to know your players individually and personally. And in a goalkeeping union and community, it's a little easier because there aren't so many of them. But, you know, discussing every issue. I have goalkeepers that are going through, you know, anxiety disorders, other issues and stuff, and knowing individually how to deal with that, how to coach that, how to help, and how to be available is incredibly important if you want your kids to thrive and yourself to thrive as a human being. And you know how I feel about that. We talk about it all the time.
I mean, Saskia, you just raised a really good point. And, Aubrey, I think, one of the wonderful things is that, you talked about the fact that, like, these are just little adjustments that coaches or parents can make to help players be successful, and it's about the communication. Julie, I'm sure you as a parent, and Aubrey, you as a player, I'm sure it's a little bit more difficult when you're younger, but as you start getting older and maturing and becoming a little more comfortable around coaches, you start saying, hey, you know what, we need to communicate this, because the coach isn't going to know unless we communicate with them.
I have a quick question. As a parent, did you find there was a time that you were pushing the agenda? Like I've had parents that come in that are like kind of not attacking, but like, this is what's wrong, this is what's going on, this is this, and I'm like, okay, we just like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and actually, we're very fortunate. We've had really positive experiences, and everyone's been pretty open. I never had to really push anything, and actually, Aubrey's a really good advocate, so I do very little in any of this. I attend the medical appointments, and I'm the chauffeur. But she's been the one that's been upfront with the coaches, just like, hey, I need some extra water breaks. Please don't treat me any different. I think we've been really successful. There's only one coach that I think really was a little too cautious, kind of limited Aubrey, because he didn't want, I guess liability is a thing that some coaches have to be careful with, but like, again, there's a balance. Like, you want to make sure your players are safe, but also you want to allow them to grow and flourish. So we only have one coach that really kind of was a little too cautious. But no, I've never had to push an agenda. Aubrey's just been the one able to talk to our coaches, really open communication, and we haven't had any issues.
Yeah, I think I found that when I've run across certain issues with, not issues, but certain things that, have come up with young players and stuff, like, I find that the Aubreys are amazing, and they've communicated to me, and we've been on the same page. And sometimes I find that it's the parents that I'm like, no, we're good. We're on the same page. Like, I've had kids with Tourette's, or I've had kids with ADHD or ADHD and stuff like that. And I've like curtailed it. Like, okay, you're not going to go first. You're going to watch, because they're visual, and you're going to watch, and that they're fine. And so, I think that coaches out there, if you're hearing me, the Aubreys, everybody, they know their stuff better than any of us do, and listen to them. Whatever they're telling you is what you need to do, and everything's fine.
I love what you just said.
Let them educate you. Period.
Yeah. I love what you just said right there, Saskia, because, I think that is one of the mistakes that I think a lot of younger coaches make out there. And that is that they either try to conceptualize, okay, what do they believe the goalkeeper needs, rather than just asking them. And Aubrey, you were just, your mom was just bringing up the fact that sometimes they would overdo it. And how does that make you feel from a mental standpoint? Because that doesn't put you in a position of strength, right?
Yeah, it honestly, at first I kind of understood it, because they didn't know what it was. I feel like they thought it was kind of more serious than it was, honestly, even though I know my body better than anyone. And I know when I need a break during practice, and I know my body better than they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but that's my point. My point is, listen. Like, coaches out there that say they don't back off. Listen, Aubrey's like, no, I'm good. Just make sure I get these breaks and everything. Treat me just like you'd treat every other goalkeeper, and then do it. Trust that she knows what she's talking about.
One thing I'm just thinking about right here is that, as we're talking about this, that there's so many, and you had brought this up, Saskia, and I think Aubrey, I think you brought this up as well too, but there are so many people out there who have different circumstances, and sometimes they might not be a physical, something that's viscerally like visually there, like somebody's limping or something like that, and if you don't ask, if you start recognizing something, and Julie, I'm sure you guys saw this at the beginning, with Aubrey and everything, like if you don't ask, oh, why is this person being successful at this movement but not being successful now? Like what is going on right there? And then you're never going to be able to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, this isn't, it's not a twisted ankle. Like, it's not that simple, but I will keep going back to deferring to the fact that, don't think you know best, coaches. Don't think you can listen, understand. And if somebody says, this is where I'm at, this is all I need, then that's all that's what it is. And,
So you just brought up a really good point right there, and I want to ask Aubrey and Julie about this. Is that you brought up it's not a twisted ankle, and I think that's the thing is that most coaches out there are able to handle special circumstances from a temporary standpoint, and that's what they've been taught their entire lives. It's like, oh, so and so's got this, so we're going to rehab this or whatever, and then they'll be fine, as opposed to something that's chronic or consistent. That isn't necessarily an issue from a limitation standpoint. It's more of just how you manage that. Is that a difficult conversation to have with coaches out there?
For us, I mean,
yeah, for you guys, yeah.
So I mean, with dysautonomia, it's not visible. So like you said, like with something that's broken or spraying, like the coaches know how to do it.
Yeah, you can tell.
But something you can't see, it's really hard. And then you have some coaches that are really willing to learn, but then they go, instead of asking Aubrey, they go on the internet and try to research it. They're going to see a range of things, but that's not going to be Aubrey. Aubrey is, every person's different. So it really comes down to asking the athlete, kind of what supports you need, educate me, what can I do, versus them doing the research. On the web, if you look up dysautonomia, you would see hundreds of things. You'd be kind of lost in that, or feel overwhelmed and be like, I don't know if I want this player on my team. So you have to be careful. And there's range to dysautonomia too. Aubrey has a very mild case, and we've been kind of lucky. It could change over time. It could become more dormant. It could, become more of an issue for her. But I think we take it day by day, and work with our coaches, our trainers.
Yeah, I mean, a good example, I'll keep going back to Tim. I mean, obviously I've known Timmy since he was a little kid, but, if you just looked up Tourette's and you Googled it, and you were a coach that was getting him under your belt, you'd be like, oh my God, this could be all over the place. It could be anything. And, he had a tic, he doesn't have a heavy duty form again, but you can't make those assumptions. You have to talk to the individual. These are, it's a broad range, and I agree with that. I want to coach you.
we looked out one of her trainers that she works with. His ex-wife actually had the same condition as Aubrey. So for him, it was just oh, I know.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, he did have to know his ex-wife was a little bit different than Aubrey in the symptoms, but that was a blessing. There was very little conversation. He just knew oh, this kid has it. She'll tell me what she needs. And
exactly, that's my point. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you as a coach out there that are listening, you have to trust that. No matter how much research you do, you're never going to understand. Just trust.
I think that's a really, really great point, because I think one of the things is the trust issue, like we were talking about with the communication with the goalkeeper. Aubrey, are there ever times where you have to bow out of a session, or you have to tell your coach, hey, can you do this instead for me, because this is going to be better for me right now? And are they generally receptive to that, or do they take that as kind of deer in the headlights? Because I think a lot of young coaches, they get deer in the headlights because they don't know what to do. And they go, okay, well, we'll just stop. And you're like, no, I don't want to stop. Can we just do this instead?
Honestly, I just ask for a quick water break most times, or just grab what my mom said, something salty, like a beef stick or nuts. And that's just what I need, honestly. I don't want to interfere with our team training. I don't want to point it out like it's a huge thing or something. I just want to simply be hey, like, or it might be like a hand signal or something, like, hey, I need to go get water real quick. I'll be right back.
And I think her coaches too said they don't want to make it super obvious, like,
Yeah.
because we don't want the other athletes to feel like she's getting special treatment. I mean, she does need some accommodations, but she usually with the coaches kind of have some kind of like signal, like, hey, I need to go. And they know that she'll take care of whatever she needs. And they know it's a really hard, difficult day. She'll come to them and be like, I can't do practice. But in order to avoid that, that's why she trains like 3 times a day, is to condition her body so it can handle it. So she doesn't have to do that anymore. I would say in the beginning, she did have to take more rest breaks. And she actually was not a keeper originally. She was a striker, but she didn't want to give
Me
up.
too.
Yeah. The goalkeeping position kind of found her, and it was a blessing in disguise. She loves it and fits it so much better than being a striker. It's just perfect for her. Found her home.
I love one thing that you said right there in regards to, not having to make a big deal out of it or point it out because you don't want, because obviously the mental aspect is really important in regards to coming from a position of strength as opposed to looking at yourself as a handicap to the team or anything like that. Saskia, I think that's a big mistake that I think a lot of younger coaches make out there. Maybe not even working with somebody who's got a special circumstance, but pointing out, oh, guys, we have to blah, blah, blah because so-and-so or whatever, as opposed to just,
Yeah, but I mean, everybody take a step back. Like, there's so many issues out there. Like, I've got, you deal with kids that have really bad asthma. You deal with kids that have diabetes. You deal with kids that there are multiple issues out there. And you have to be able to deal with that as a coach and as a mentor. It's don't look at something that you don't know, you've never heard of it before, as like, oh my God, discuss how to deal with it. And a lot of the similar ways that you have to deal with things are some of the ways that, like, if a kid had an asthma attack, they have to step aside. They have to take their inhaler if somebody blood sugar was low or stuff like that. Just educate yourself through the family, through the player, and don't make it a big deal. There's no reason, you might need to get salt. You might need to step away. You have your signal, and little Jenny over there, she might be having an asthma attack and she has to step away and take, and I'm not in any way downplaying asthma to what you're going through or anything like that. But I'm saying that as a coach, there are multiple things going on with multiple players and children. And you have to be able to deal with it, and you have to be able to handle it properly, period.
Well, I have a question, Julie, as a parent, is this kind of like prior to joining a new environment, is this something that, is kind of the first thing that you make a club aware of while you're joining, or is it's not?
In the beginning, yes. I think because when she was younger too, like, I mean, I'm her parent. I have a responsibility to make sure that she's safe. But as she gets into the more competitive environments, no, we don't go immediately talk about it. Like so like when she tries out for like ODP, PDP, she first tries out as like an athlete. And then if she makes the team and they have like long tournament weekends or travel, then we kind of like, she'll go, hey, so just want to let you know, it's not a big deal, but I require extra rest breaks, or I'm going to have to pack medications and have times where I need to take meds, during the day. So I need to step out. She brings it up after she's made the team and shown who she is as an athlete, because she's an athlete first. Like, this is Aubrey, the athlete first. Her medical condition is just a very small part of who she is.
Yeah, and I will say to you, any coach that has an issue with dealing with that, seeing the athlete that she is, let them tell them to call me. Right? I'll chat with them. Okay.
And that's another thing too, is like, I want a lot of young players out there who are listening, and going like, oh, this sounds, obviously to be a challenge and everything, and I can only play. I'm guessing you can only play at a certain level, whatever. Like again, we're talking about Keeper Wars national runner-up, ECNL, ODP Cal North. I mean, you're playing at the highest of levels of a youth player right now, Aubrey. And I mean, and that right there just showcases the fact that if you are willing to make the sacrifices that maybe some other players aren't with a specific circumstance, you can achieve anything you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and that
Look,
that is
me
important.
as a coach, not as a UCLA coach, but for me as a coach, to see what you have to do to get to where you are just makes me happy. Just makes me know the drive, the intensity, the commitment, the everything that you want to check off for a player. That shows that to me. Period.
There's a question here actually in the comment section right here that I kind of want to throw up.
Do you
right
like
here.
my side note there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did. It's a very solid compliance side note. I like it. It's very
sorry. As yeah.
It's okay. So Aubrey's already made her list of
I know.
schools that
I
we
was
don't
just
have to
saying.
discuss.
Like, I can't say it that way. I have to say it a different way. So.
This comment's in the comment section right here. I want to throw this up here because this is actually really fascinating. And it's from Keeper Wars Inc. And they go, did Keeper Wars help you improve as a goalkeeper? And I think, you know, to kind of pivot this to the topic right here, I think it with the specific areas that are limiting for you, does a game like Keeper Wars, does an activity like Keeper Wars help you kind of push through this so that when you're playing in the traditional 11s game, it's an easier task for you?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that Keeper Wars definitely helped me condition, and it helped me get used to, like, the first day of Keeper Wars, I was definitely not used to the humidity. I was like dying. I was like, oh God, it's so hot. And then like the second day, like in the couple last games, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get used to this. I'm starting to get in the flow. And then it also, Keeper Wars helped me with my technique, with my kicks, side volleys, punts.
Yeah.
And then also just recognizing, like, it was like PK distance. So also helping me get better with my PKs. So I definitely feel like that helped me as a player grow.
Yeah, she was training so she won the Morgan Hill Keeper Wars, which qualified her for nationals. So she was training, I would say, every day for 4 to 5 months on like side volleys. And she's really proud because at 12 she was doing side volleys, and most kids her age weren't. And she was learning how to cock her hip, and it was rough to watch because she was falling because if you lean too far back, like she was having to really work out the kinks, and she finally got it down. And I think at that event, every parent was like, I've never seen a kid do side volleys at 12. And it was working and winning. And so she qualified for nationals, and she continued to do it there. And her coaches have recognized she's really made some huge improvements since like competing in Keeper Wars. It's really brought it up to another level.
I love it.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm like, well, I think a lot of times because at that age, when I had my short stint in club, because you're not allowed to punt, you're not allowed to side volley, you're not allowed to do anything because nobody's allowed to head the ball. And so all of a sudden you switch, you get a birthday, and now it's like, hey, side volley, hey, field player, head the ball. Like, I'm like, but they weren't even allowed to train it.
Yeah.
Like, which I always train my goalkeepers regardless of their age. Like, you're going to have to use this. But, you know, for a field player aspect, they never were allowed to train head balls. And now all of a sudden you're allowed to head the ball and you don't know how. Smart people out there, super smart. So I love it. I love, and that's what it brings. It brings the intensity. It brings it also brings, you know, everything comes down to what you're doing. So if you equate that into the game with Keeper Wars, you bring it down to, am I giving a good service? Am I giving a good side volley to the player, to the point that I want? So when you're going against another keeper, you're like, am I putting in the upper 90? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? I'm not just hitting it down the center or just randomly. And it forces that issue on you, which equates into the bigger game where it's like, hey, I got so-and-so running up the left side. I'm going to do a side volley, drop it right onto her foot so she can run onto it for a goal. Like, in the perfect world. Yeah. Right? So I love it. It's true,
But
Mike. It's true.
no, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I've been trying to work on my side volley more and more, for men's 7-a-side. Though it's frowned upon in the men's 7-a-side game because the field is so small. You really need to do it on the 11s field.
And that's when you throw. Throw,
That's
Mike.
what I've been doing. But then I need to work on my throwing too. I'm no Saskia Weber when it comes to throwing the ball. But kind of getting back to this topic right here, though, I think this brings up a really good point in regards to limitations, right? Saskia, you're saying, oh, not allowed to head the ball, and now all of a sudden you can head the ball. I think one thing that I think is really important for a lot of people to hear out there who are dealing with goalkeepers who might have a special circumstance or anything like that is that if you do treat them differently from an actual X's and O's standpoint or from the game standpoint, they're going to be limited once they get in the game. And I think that's something, Aubrey, that you've probably made very clear to coaches in the past is that I need to be able to do everything you expect of any goalkeeper out there. And if you don't work on these things with me because you think it's it's going to be difficult for me or put me on a harmful position or whatever, then I'm never going to be able to accomplish my goal.
Yeah, I would say on that, like, as a coach out there, don't err on the side of caution. Like, push your keeper. She'll let you know. Aubrey will let you know. Hey, I need a break. I need a salt. I need a beef stick. I love beef sticks, by the way. Or something like that. But don't say, I'm going to dumb this down or I'm going to back off because this might happen. Like, treat your players, whatever circumstance, and they'll let you know. And make it, but at the same time, make a comfortable environment that they're okay letting you know. That's a big deal because we have a lot of players out there, and I want to kill half my goalkeepers for UCLA that get injured and they don't want to tell me. Like, they tweak their shoulder and they're like, no, I'm good, coach. And it's like you have to make an environment comfortable that says, coach, I tweaked my shoulder. Or coach, I need to take a break for a second. I need to get my nutrients. I need to get my salt stick and stuff like that. And that's fine. And if you don't make that environment, then it's not good for players like Aubrey. Period.
I have a question for Aubrey here. In regards to with your specific circumstance, is it more difficult in the game, in the actual match, than it is at a training session? Because I know for myself, competitive juices get flowing, and I just don't want to stop or anything like that. Or are you comfortable enough to be like, hey, I need to come out, or I can't do this right now, blah blah blah. I need to sit this game out, that sort of thing.
Honestly, push myself to not skip a game or definitely not come off. I'm like, nope, I can't come off.
I can only think of one time she's ever missed a game. And she's never missed a practice. Yeah. I mean, when she has like an injury, like a broken bone, she's there and she's one of the team captains. So she's there in some way, like helping out the team. She's the loudest one too. So like the coach who would be like, you're on the bench, you're acting like you're still in the box, because she's like, get it out. She's the loudest one there. It's just such a good relationship with the coach.
I love that.
I absolutely love that. Aubrey, I want to ask you this: is that you as a player, when you are around other players who might be having a difficult time with something, it might not even be a medical circumstance or anything like that. Maybe it's an injury. Maybe they're new to the team. Maybe they're struggling at a tryout or anything like that. Because of the challenges that you've dealt with, has this kind of created that leadership mentality that we're talking about? Obviously, you're a team captain and everything like that. And have you been able to recognize this is going on and then be able to communicate that to the coaching staff? Is that something that you've done in the past?
I've never had to deal with anything like that so far.
That's not true. Anytime a kid's injured on the field.
Well, yeah, anytime a kid's injured, like we recently had a girl break her wrist at our game, and I was like the first one to come up to her. I was like, she was like, she was hurt. She's hurt her wrist before, and she was like, this is what it felt like when I broke it. And I was like, you're fine. trust me, you're okay. Just breathe. And I was like, just breathe. You're okay. I just kept repeating that to her and getting her out of that mindset that she couldn't play, and that getting her out of that, her head out of that space in a negative way. I was like, be fine. Trust me. Just look in my eyes. You'll be okay.
Which is why you're a captain.
Yeah, she's usually the first one on the field, kind of keeping everyone away from the player, allowing them to have space, because I think Aubrey knows, like, no one wants to put on a big, like, when you're hurt or not feeling well, you don't want all eyes on you. You want a little bit more privacy. You want time to kind of relax. And so she's usually the one kind of shielding the player from all the other players, and then flagging the coach. Hey, she's hurt. You got to come.
Like I said, which is why you're a captain. And that comes, and that has nothing to do. It has everything to do with what you've gone through and what you're going through and who you are as a person. But again, that is just that's a character. That's something at your age. That character is, it's awesome. That's awesome.
And I want to say this right. I want to say this right now to anyone who's listening out there and going like, oh, she's like this because of the circumstances she's dealt with. No, Aubrey is that person. And that's why she's been able to deal with the circumstances that she's been able to deal with. This is just innate naturally in you. You know, it's not because of the challenges. It's because who you are as a person and as a goalkeeper, you know. And I think I really want to stress that, you know, because we all have challenges. But regardless of what yours was going to be, you were going to be the same person.
If Michael was whining about a broken wrist, I would just step over him and be like, get him off the field so we can keep playing. Come on, you little baby. And he'd be like humming to himself. It's true, Mike.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
A week ago when I was playing in a game and I came out for a cross and I got knocked in the cross and I held onto the ball and I was rolling around on the ground. This guy's like, "Get up, man! Get up! Stop being such a drama queen, man!"
See, I told you.
Ref, yellow card. Ref.
I would have just stepped over him and been like, "Get him off the field."
Oh boy! Next person up for Saskia. Right?
I'm really a nice coach.
Aubrey's like, thanks God I have my list of schools already.
No, I mean, she's a natural leader. She'll teach me a thing or two. You, Mike, I would step over.
I want to bring this up with Julie because I want to talk about parents here, because I think one issue that I've run into a lot, and Saskia, you brought this up about parents overemphasizing or helicoptering or quote unquote babying.
And the reason I'm going to say this, I'm going to bring up a story. I was coaching. I'll never forget it. This is how impactful it was in my coaching career, in my life. I was coaching Soccer Plus. I was coaching for Tony DeChico. This is when I was 20, probably 3, which, do the math, was a long time ago. And I had a kid, and I didn't know her limitations. I was told that whether she was a little slow learning and stuff like that. And so I had a dad that was standing. This is goalkeeper soccer camp. There are 100 goalkeepers there. I have like 40 kids that I'm dealing like in a line, and I had already discussed this with the player. She was very forthcoming to me. She said, "Listen, it takes me a little bit to get things." I said, and that's what I brought up. I said, okay, so are you more visual? And she said, "I am." I said, "All right, so I don't want you to go first in the drill. I want you to go like 4th or 5th. Watch what the other goalkeepers are doing, and you'll get the drill." And so everything was fine. And her father was hanging out by my goalkeeper, by my goal, basically yelling at her and yelling at me, going, Coach, she's slow. Coach, she doesn't understand, Coach. And I was like, wow. And I sent my kids to get water, and I walked over to him. I said, your daughter's actually doing fine. She's got the drill down. We've already discussed it. You're causing the problem. Like, we've already communicated this. She was very upfront. We talked about the best way for her to learn. We figured it out. Get off my goal and go over there. But I've dealt with parents like that. and they make it worse for their kid.
Yeah. And obviously, Julie, it sounds like, obviously through, and I'm sure there was a trial and error period as well from when she was a young kid and into progressing and everything like that. But, I think a lot of parents, like Saskia was talking about right there, need to hear that the less is more mentality, the hands-off approach, and trust that your young goalkeeper knows what they're doing, knows what they're dealing with, and that they are going to handle the situation, because at some point they're going to be off on their own, and it's not like their circumstances are going to change, so they have to be able to learn how to independently handle it.
Well, and I just knew, like, I'm not going to be around. Like, I just know with Aubrey's talent, she was going to go far with soccer, just with her determination. So I knew, like, I'm not going to be going to the ODP tournaments there to be like, hey, coaches, do this, watch that. Like, she has to learn at a very young age, what she needs to say. And she knows her body better than I would know her body. I don't know what's happening in it. Like, I know what she tells me, but I don't know how that feels and what she needs. The only thing I do is occasionally she came up with like mind over matter. And so occasionally when she's having a rough game, she will look at me, and instead of being one of those parents that coaches your kids or say anything, I just hold up, like, she had me tattoo this. So I just point up like, hey, mind over matter.
Nice. You made your mom get a tattoo. I love it.
I don't like needles. I didn't like
She's
needles.
afraid of needles. And I was like, hey, come on, you got it.
There are a couple tattoos I could make my mom get, trust me.
Oh my God.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, so I mean, she's already going off on her own to ODP things and stuff, and I can't be there for those. Like, that's her thing, and so it was important at a young age that she learn to listen to her body, learn to know what she needs, and then be able to communicate that with the people that she needs to.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a great way to go about it. I think that one of the things too is that we're talking about the mental aspect, Aubrey, and I don't know if you've ever had this in the past or whatever, but if either a coach or a player or something like that has told a coach or player that, oh, hey, she has to blah, 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 or whatever. And then you start doubting yourself, because now mentally you're thinking about the negatives as opposed to, the positives and being successful and everything like that. Is that something that's ever happened to you?
There was a couple times that's happened to me. Like players, like talking to another player, like, oh, I heard she had this, or, oh, she had this, or she can't do this. And that did kind of upset me a little bit, but honestly, I just didn't want to think much of it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, you just prove them wrong.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Like, I'll show you what I can do.
Exactly.
I'm not different than any of you guys. I'm not more different than any of you.
I think it's hard because, especially with kids, I mean, even adults, if you can't see something, it's really hard to understand. If you don't understand something, you kind of also like make assumptions instead of just asking.
You assume that adults assume that the reason she's not in this or doing that or is because of it.
Yeah, or are the things she's making up because, like, she looks completely healthy. Like, how could she have something like that? I mean, because she's an athlete and look what she can do. So, I mean, it's just hard for kids, especially to understand that. But like Aubrey said, I don't think she lets that really bother her. She just kind of goes, okay, watch me on the field.
Yeah, I think one of the things too, like, when we're talking about this here, is that, like, sports psychology is so important, and just the mental side is so important, and I want a lot of coaches out there and parents to hear that, is that how you approach anything is going to either be a detriment or a positive to your young athlete, regardless of what their circumstances are, and Aubrey, it sounds like the mental side of the game is massively important to you as an athlete, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
How did she get diagnosed? Do you mind me asking that?
So, it took a while. I mean, and we're not gonna lie, on average, it takes anywhere from 2 to 6 years to get diagnosed with it. Not because it's rare or anything. It's just the symptoms are it varies for every person. but there's not a lot of research on why we're doing what
Why
we're doing
this.
But how she got diagnosed was she was going to the urgent care and the hospital a lot for like colds and stuff that would take her out for weeks. And I'm like, there's something wrong. And when she started to faint, she demanded that her doctor listen and do more. And so her doctor listened. It was kind of amazing. And she said, let me talk to a couple colleagues. And then she was referred to Stanford. She got a diagnosis within a year and a half, which is extremely rare for individuals with dysautonomia. And so luckily at a young age, we got the diagnosis, we got the care, and we're getting the treatment and support so that she's able to continue to play. But it does take some time to get that diagnosis. And so why we're pushing an awareness on this, like things to look for, go to the Dysautonomia International website.
What are some of the things to look for? Like, I want you guys to please use our platform.
Absolutely.
Please let us know.
So some symptoms are brain fog, there's fainting, there's nerve pain. So like I was saying, like the bee stings in my legs, like those are all the nerves that just are like in shock. And then like the GI tract, and then sweating.
Either you sweat too much or you don't sweat at all. And so for her, she wasn't sweating and swelling up. And that's dangerous as an athlete. You know about heat stroke, exhaustion. So that was one sign. And the fainting really was evidence that she had POTS dysautonomia. We haven't had any fainting for like 2 or 3 years now because of the meds and the conditioning she does. But unfortunately, there's people with this condition that faint often, like throughout the week.
Yeah, throughout the day sometimes too.
Yeah. So I mean,
why do you faint? I'm sorry. Obviously, I don't know. Why do you faint? Like, what is it that happens?
So sometimes it's the overuse of my body. Like like if I play like a really tough game, like I said, like a really big tournament, honestly, I won't faint during a game. I've never had that happen to me, but like it kind of hits you after you're out of like the game. It like hits you all in one big motion.
Yeah,
it's like
the blood
boom.
pools. Basically what happens is there's an intolerance to standing and like sitting, like suddenly the sudden changes of that motion. And then the blood starts pulling into your legs. And when that happens, you faint. So she has, with people, it's a blood circulation kind of condition. And so for her, like big days, whether it was tournaments or just overexcitement, would cause that reaction, that flight or fight, and her body would be like, uh-oh, I'm panicking. And so then it would kind of go into shock and she would faint. Like the first time she fainted was at a subway after a game.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Luckily I caught her and she didn't hit her head, but I was like, that was the turning point where we demanded more support by the doctors, and she actually demanded that and she got it.
How does it affect you in school?
So I can also faint or have like my dysautonomia kick in if I'm overstressed. With my anxiety.
I would say brain fog.
Yeah, like brain fog, I would get embarrassed of it, like especially when I was young. I couldn't memorize like a shape on the wall or something. Like I would say a rectangle was a square or something like that, and then I would just get so embarrassed because like the kids would laugh and say like you're so dumb or something like that, and it definitely hurt me mentally.
And I think that's why you started your presentations, was to educate the kids. She would know the answers, and like she would ace test it. But like if she was stressed or she had symptoms, she would struggle, and the kids were starting to be like, what's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. And what started like, let's educate them and tell them what this is.
No,
you know, one thing you all have brought up, and Saskia, thank you for bringing up the school aspect right there, is that when we're talking about, people who have, a specific, circumstance or anything that they might not be aware of as they're coming up, as players, is that I think a lot of times, we're focused on the field. There might be cues off the field that you need to take into consideration and then see, oh, is this why this is happening on the field? Because there, like you're saying, there is going to be a direct correlation. So I think that's really important for people out there to hear, that you got to look at the entire life of the person as opposed to just the actions on the field.
Yeah, I mean, being dyslexic in school and not being able to read till I was in like third grade, I got teased all the time and everything, and it was it was stress, and that stress to cause a chemical reaction as well, to faint or to something, just adds to the bullying and everything. And kids out there and coaches out there, like, stop, enough. Everybody's going through stuff. You don't know what's going on, and we have to teach our kids to be better. And it's from my lips to the universe, but to be able to come through that and to be such a strong, great individual, human being, soccer player, goalkeeper, leader, captain, like, my hat's off to you, Aubrey. My hat's off to you.
Aubrey, I have a question for you, because Omar brought this up a couple weeks ago on an episode in regards to the fact that a lot of times the best way you can learn about what your goalkeeper needs is by just simply asking a simple question like, oh, hey, what's going on with you lately, or like, how's your day been, or whatever. And if they have that trust with you, they'll open up, and you'll recognize, again, little triggers and cues within the conversation. They go, oh, that's why this is happening, or why this is going so well, or not going well. Is that something that when a coach asks you, hey, how was your weekend, or something like that, all of a sudden you feel more comfortable to be open and honest with them because they actually care about you as a person?
Yes, definitely. I have my coach right now. He's really open with me, and we talk about soccer games. Like, we talk about the Premier League all the time. We both like the same team, so we're always talking about,
who's your team?
Oh,
you don't have to be
United.
Mine too.
Oh,
Mine too. Rock on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Aubrey also likes two teams that he doesn't like, so they're always just kind of like
Back and forth.
And he loves that he has a female keeper that loves like the pro league men's teams too. Like, she watches the U.S. women all the time too, but she watches everything, and so he loves. I just watch. She goes to practice about 45 minutes early just so they can chat about this.
Yeah.
No,
like,
absolutely.
Mom, we need to go to early so we can talk to my coach, please.
I see Manchester United to people, and they're like, "Oh, of course. Well, who else would you pick?" I'm like, dude, I've been invested in them since they weren't even on television here in America. So everybody calm down. I'm not bandwagon.
Yeah.
I love it.
Speaking of bandwagon, I think here's an NWSL team I think that Aubrey should be able to support in less than a year. Right there. I think that's also really important too, Aubrey, and I love the fact that you're bringing up the fact of watching games. We talk about this with young goalkeepers all the time, how important it is to watch matches and watch the game at the different levels to understand what the demands are at the different levels. You can learn what works, what doesn't work, and everything like that. Do you feel that for somebody like yourself, who is such a student of the game and such a leader, that only helps you help others out there because maybe they're not necessarily putting in the homework that you do?
Yeah, I definitely talk to my teammates about like games too. I'm like, there is a couple of them that do watch it, but definitely not much. Not a lot of kids like my age watch like the games that I do, and like the Premier League. And I'm just like, oh, you know what happened in this game? And I'm like, this happened, like, and I'm just talking to them about it. And then and then some of them now are starting to watch more of it. And I'm like,
I love it.
She's also learning different terminology, and our coach loves it. He's been helping her too. So she's like, we're getting static here. We're getting static here. And where are you getting this?
Do you have an English accent when you say it?
No, but I bet that's coming soon.
No, and you know what? It's something that I love as well. Like walking onto the bus, even with UCLA, and this wasn't available when I was playing and stuff, but to see the girls on their phones or on their computers or watching games. What are you guys doing? Oh, they'll be watching other Pac-12 games, or they'll be watching the Premier League or something. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is amazing. and they'll bring it up in conversation. Like if we're in video or something, oh, sometimes on the video we'll show like, something developing out of the back with a Premier League team or something. So it's educational, but it's awesome that you're getting other players to turn on to that. I love that.
Yeah. And I want to say this too, right here in regards to that, Aubrey, in regards to helping others out there, because like, I think, you as a leader, you as a team captain, and obviously with everything that you've gone through, I'm sure that you can probably give some advice to some other team captains out there who are having new players, come into their environment, who might be nervous or might be uncomfortable or have something going on, that people might not be aware of. Like, how's the best way that you as a team captain can help integrate a young new player into your team?
Honestly, treat them like you want to be treated. Like, be open, start conversations with them, get to know them. And then like the next day, like if you heard that they had like a dog or something, ask them like, how's your dog doing? Just getting conversation started going with them and getting to know them. I feel like that's really important to know as a team captain.
Amazing.
Amazing. Well, guys, I know Aubrey, I'm guessing you still have...
Hold on really quick before you cut out. I know that sounds simple, everybody out there, but it's not. It's that little thing that makes such a big difference in people's lives and in people's day and in people's world. And the fact that you get that at your age and is why you're a captain, is why you're going to have a long, long career in soccer and beyond. And I'm just excited to watch it. And if you ever want to talk about Manchester United, you can always hit me up. I'm here for you.
Aubrey, just real quick as we're wrapping up here, because I do want you to plug and talk a little bit about, raising awareness and normalizing situations for obviously this circumstance and where people can connect with people. But what other interests outside of soccer do you have out there? Because I feel like, I just see you doing great things in the world outside of soccer, right? Too.
Yeah, my interests, like I love doing like raising awareness for dysautonomia. I did bake sales the past couple years. And like the Passback program, which I'm doing. I just ended right now.
Yeah, she joined the Passback program and is collected with her club's help tons of soccer equipment for youth soccer players for the Sacramento area, for kids that have been affected by the fires, COVID, and they don't have equipment to, get out there and play sports. So she asked her club if they could help advertise her Passback program. And so they just wrapped that up this weekend. And so we're excited. We get to turn over all the equipment to the clubs in Sacramento and see the kids use it.
It's amazing. What have you done today, Michael? What?
Let's see here. I put the rundown together for tomorrow's podcast.
What have I done today? Oh my God, you're amazing. It's amazing.
I know. I cooked swordfish. Great.
I met with the air testing guy. I'm like,
I was very proud of myself for cooking swordfish.
What is it? It's fish.
Well, I know, but it's a thick fish. It's like a steak. It's like a steak fish. It's a different type of situation. Wow. Okay, where this conversation's going. Aubrey, where's Aubrey and Julie, both of you guys? Where, if anybody wants to know more about dysautonomia?
Yeah,
it's right.
Yeah, it's dysautonomia, and it's Dysautonomia International. So just www.dysautonomia International. They have ways where you can donate to the cause. Aubrey has a website, so if you look up, Team Aubrey or Aubrey, I think it's the Wall McLin. They will lead you to all the places where you can donate or learn more about it. But just honestly, learning the word and looking it up, it starts the conversation.
Yeah. Also, Aubrey, I know because we're going to rerun this, and Mike, why don't we put up where anybody out here can donate equipment and everything as well?
Absolutely.
If you're still taking donations to your club.
It's actually wrapped up, but if you go to USA Foundation or the USA website for soccer, the Passback program is there, and any club and any kid can do their own Passback program.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh wow. That's incredible. That's
something we have to keep pushing. Absolutely. That's awesome. So we want to make sure we're going to put those up when we rerun this and everything.
I have a window that I want to share right here on the show. Let's see if I can do this here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Now, did you bake these yourself?
Look at that food.
So some of those kids, those are my cousins, and then the one on the right of me, she's my friend, and we all baked these together. We did, my dad, he made all those like cake pops because we have like a cake.
Who made the cake pops?
Yeah, my dad did. He put hours into this. Right there.
I think this bake sale raised over $1,200 too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's incredible. That's
And
incredible.
turquoise is the color for the health campaign, so that's
we
why
made everything turquoise.
I love it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. All right. Well, if you want to contact Saskia Weber and let her ask her what she's done today, you can do that.
Apparently, my underachieving self, I've done nothing to help the world.
At Saskia_Weber on all social medias. If you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social medias, or contact at Inside the 18. That's the number 18media.com. Aubrey, shout out to you for reaching out to us. If there's any other young goalkeeper advocates out there who are doing great things, please reach out to us. We love to share stories like this. We love to have these discussions.
Yeah, and we'd love
it's
to
not all
follow
about
up
X's and O's.
I would love to follow up on you like every so many months. Like, just let us know if something new's coming up. If you want to talk about, shoot us, and you're on like that. Boom.
Yep.
Definitely.
And guys, if you want to reach out to me directly, www.michaelmagidcomedy.com directly, or at Michael Magid for my tour schedule. Shout out to the wonderful one and only Stan Anderson from Camp Shutout. We're doing Dine and Laugh next week, October 22nd and 23rd in Racine, Wisconsin. So check that out on the website as well, too. That is all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.